Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Queen Bee podcast. Today we're doing a solo episode just to be a bit different. What if the life you've been working so hard to put together isn't actually the life that you want? I really want to take you today behind the scenes of our Queen Bee Transform framework. And this is actually the exact framework that I've created to help women move from being stuck, unseen, and exhausted to feeling calm, clear, and connected to a life that finally feels like theirs. Now, if you've been following Queen Bee for a while, you'll know that this whole journey really started from my own unraveling, essentially. My anxiety, my exhaustion, brain fog, all the menopause stuff that has been part of my life for the past over 11 years now. And I got to a point where it all got too much. So let me come back a step. I started being able to manage the symptoms that were the hormonal symptoms, but what that left me with was still a feeling that I couldn't cope, that I was in overwhelm, and I couldn't see a way forward. It was extremely heavy, and I didn't know what to do. And this is not an uncommon thing for us, particularly at this time of our lives. I think for me, I thought once I dealt with the hormone stuff that everything would just calm down. And the truth is that that's a big part of what's going on, but it's not the only thing that's happening to us. I was doing so many things, trying to, create our menopause summit. I was wanting to look after my family, but I felt totally burnt out and I was just pushing myself through. If I tried to take a break for a couple of days, I just went, it was not a good space. My headspace was not a good space. So I really wanted to feel different. I really wanted to find a way out of that extreme heaviness, and that overwhelm's the word that just keeps coming up. I feel like it doesn't express what that is enough, but we'll go with that for the moment. What I really wanted was I wanted a roadmap. I wanted a way out of where I was at the time into something better. I actually just wanted to feel alive, and I wanted to feel happy and I wanted to feel like I was making a difference. I didn't want to feel like I was just a burden, because that's kind of where I was at. So the framework I want to share with you today is what emerged from my own personal growth experience, as well as coaching conversations and the collective transformation that I see happening with so many women who are just completely done with going through the motions and going through the day to day. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to go through that. Now, one of the things that I like for me, and everyone's different, but I find there is a lot of comfort, there is a lot of safety, and there's a lot of reassurance in having a structured path that you go through. And a lot of that is a sense of control, I think, that, we're not just making it up as we go along, but that there is actually a formula although it obviously varies for everyone, but there is a way. There is a way forward. And I think that's very reassuring when everything else around us is in chaos, is knowing that there are steps that we can go through. And I think that's why we get attracted to things like, 3 steps to do blah, 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 blah. It is that sense of there is a structure, there is a way that we can do it. And I think where we get caught up is that we think that it's going to be like 5 things we do and then we're done and we're there. Whereas a real structured framework or a way forward is actually bigger than that. It is about, I'm thinking bigger steps, but more like, if we think of it like a book, it's more like we're going through a chapter, not just a page. So within the chapter, there are all the different things that we are doing and we are experiencing and we are exploring, because I think for any inner change to happen, we need to become much closer to who we are and all the things that are influencing not just our decisions, but also our beliefs and our actions and how we move forward. For my own self, coming, not so much just the coming up with the framework, but actually experiencing it and then refining that into a framework has been incredibly grounding. And it has also helped me, for myself, map my way forward. So where am I going next? And how do I keep taking this to the next level and the next level in a way that is actually safe and supportive? So let's go through the framework. So let's go through the framework. Now, it starts off with foundations. And these are the things that we need before we can really go forward and make the changes. And a lot of this is around self-awareness, but then it's around taking that self-awareness and creating some really strong foundations that we're going to base our next moves on. So the first part of that is really our nervous system support, because we can't create when we're in survival mode. And this is where I think a lot of the mindset work and mindfulness really falls down. Because if we are in a state of either heightened arousal, like so we are in our sympathetic nervous state, then we can't necessarily calm from that state with just mindfulness strategies. It needs to be more of a whole of body approach. And the same if we are in a really flat state, a dorsal vagal state, and we need to have something that's going to help to energize us, to help us to actually move forward. So knowing where we're at is key, and then we can start moving forward. The next one, so we've got nervous system support. Next one is values. So this is rediscovering and really getting into what is actually important to us at our core, so that we can align our choices to actually what matters most to us. And then the third part of our foundations is around the choices that we make. So we want to be making small aligned choices that create lasting momentum in the direction that we want to actually be traveling. And so for you who are listening, I'd love you just to take a moment to think about, when was the last time that you actually paused before you started pushing through? Things are getting tough. There's a lot on. Got to go, go, go. When did you last pause and give yourself a moment before you kept going? And the second question I want you to consider now is, do you know what values you're currently living by? And are they yours? Because sometimes it's a matter of what are the words that we align to our values and what do those words actually mean to us, because they can be quite different. So with our 5 pillars, these are really the heart of our transformation, if you like. We've got joy, which is how we want to be experiencing life, if you like. We have our meaning, which is what our life purpose feels like. And, that may be saving the rainforest. It may be really big. It may be much smaller than that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Each of us has something that we're here to achieve in life, if you like. And that's different for everyone. And these feed into, along with our values, our inner compass, what our true direction is. In order to achieve that, we need to give ourselves permission to actually make changes in our life, because often we are so conditioned with how things should be and what we can have that we can't make the change unless we give ourselves permission. And once we've had permission, we're then able to release the things that are holding us back. So for myself, finding my joy was really being able to connect with what was going on around me. When I first started going to the beach, this is one of the practices I put in, was going to the beach each week. And initially, I really wasn't feeling anything. I was there. I knew intellectually it was a really nice place and I should be going there. And I knew I should be feeling really nice there, but it wasn't actually connecting to anything. So it's helping us to kind of uncover what is that and how do we experience it. When it came to meaning, for me, I've been very clear for at least the last 15 years in terms of my life purpose, and that is around helping people to realize their potential and to bring out their best. And that's sort of been consistent, but how that's been expressed and how that has been interpreted has changed at different parts of my life depending on where I was and what I was doing. And all of that, along with my values, my choices, came together to form my inner compass, which is my life direction. And my choices actually reinforce that each day. The next part for me around permission was accepting that it was okay for me to feel the way I felt about things. And that just because something would trigger me, that wasn't a defining thing about me. That was a message that my body was giving me to say, this isn't something that we're comfortable with right now for whatever reason. And then it was looking into that and going, okay, well, what's actually going on here? Why is this triggering me? And what are the things I can do to shift that, which then became the releasing part. And sometimes that's letting things go. And sometimes that is just a reframe that helps you see something from a totally different perspective. One of the most powerful gifts I received in terms of that perspective shift was around money mindset that was shared with me. And it was about looking at the different parts of you that contributed to the decisions that you were making. So who was actually in charge of the decisions you were making in your life? Was it the impulsive, excitable version of you? Was it the scared person of you? Which part? Like, we have all these different aspects of ourselves. And once I saw that, it was like, oh, I see. I've not been the one that's been making those decisions, and I need to, in this case, not necessarily release that part, but to actually take it on. And that was a bit of permission giving of saying, I'm giving myself permission to step up and to start being much more intentional about what I am doing in my life. And that was informed by my inner compass and all the other things that went before it. At the end of the day, I mean, they're not, I've given them to you in a linear form, but they're not linear. They're all interconnected, and you're moving back and forth between them and building them up as you go. So my reflective question for you now is, what brings you joy? Do you know? And if you do know what brings you joy, are you allowing yourself to have it? Are you still waiting for permission to have what you want? And what are the aspects of your life that you're holding on to that no longer fit the person that you're becoming? Now, I know for me, I was still holding on to, and, I actually still am, if I'm totally honest, I still have a lot of things around what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a mum, what it means to be a business owner, what it means to be a coach. And I'm still always navigating those, but working out which bits actually fit with the person I am and which bits do I need to talk about, do I need to negotiate, do I need to shift? Okay, next bit, which is our lintel, our little bit over the top of the pillars. That is our mapping, and that is where we actually start to define and refine our own version of our map. And I mean, essentially, we will have been building that up as we go through all those pillars. The idea here is that we get a sustainable way forward that isn't going to lead to burnout or to a stagnating. It's really a creative, evolving strategy, and it's not perfect, but it's about helping you to stay connected to your direction and to your purpose, and making sure that we don't slip back, because we can do, there's a lot of external pressure to fit into other people's versions of our lives, and we want to make sure that we've got that support and structure in place. And finally, the final part of the framework is maintenance, our roof. And that is really our ongoing commitment to having a life that is aligned with what we want to experience in life and how we want to experience it. The idea with this is it's not about constantly doing more and more and more and more, because we know that's exhausting and it's not sustainable. But instead, it's to create the systems, the rituals, the habits, and the support that are going to help us to maintain and continue being the person that we want to be. So my question for you is, what are you maintaining that might be out of habit that no longer serves you? I know for me, one of the big things was I had this belief, even though I was in my own business, and I've been just in my own business for 4 years now, was that I had this feeling that I had to be sitting at my desk for a certain number of hours every day. And, that's a mindset that comes from employment, where you are being paid to sit there or whatever you're doing for so many hours a day. Instead of it being about, what am I creating? What is my effective time? Because sometimes, I could do everything I need to do in the first couple of hours, and then I'm like, yeah, now I can actually, do something creative, or I can come up with some more ideas, or I can, whatever it is, go and hang out in the washing. But instead, I was like, oh, I've got to get something else done. What have I got that I can do, because I need to be here? And that's actually exhausting. And that's not living a life that I want to be living. I want to be living a life where I get to enjoy feeling alive, as well as creating things and, supporting people. I feel like sometimes, and that's probably a really good example of how we really limit ourselves into a belief that we may not even know we have. So when we can let go of those and we can create a structure that supports us better, we are in such a better space. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast episode is I feel like we are kind of stuck in a bit of a loop, basically trying to work out what we need to do with random jigsaw puzzle pieces. There's internet tips, there's vague advice, there's, what's fashionable? What do we need to do? We need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And it's, apart from being overwhelming in itself, because there's so much information out there, it's really hard to work out what's actually going to work best for us. So it is about reclaiming our own agency, our own alignment, and of course, joy, because we want to feel alive. I am tired of not feeling like I'm living my life. It isn't just a personal development thing, although that's how we tend to frame it. It is about our mental well-being. It's about our spiritual well-being, our everything, our whole self, our soul. We're reclaiming our soul. And I think that for a lot of us, we need a structure to go forward. And that's why I've created our framework, because I want to make sure that women can move from where they're at now, whether or not they're coping, to being able to feel alive and feel that they make a difference and that they're seen and heard. Okay, if you're listening to this and you are thinking, wow, this is what I've been missing too, definitely reach out, because I would love to invite you to experience this for yourself. I'm actually going to be running our Emerald Beta, which is our founding circle, towards the end of this month. Now, it's the first time I'll be teaching the full Queen Bee Transform framework live in a group, and we'll also have group coaching sessions as well throughout the 3 months. So it is a more intense but very fast momentum building experience. We'll be meeting weekly. We're keeping it small. If you are in, then you will be part of that creating experience, and it's going to be incredibly powerful. I am limiting it to 20 women. So only those who join the priority list will be able to get access when the doors open. And the list, you can join the list now up until when the doors open on the 27th of July. And you can do that at our website, which is queenbee.com.au/1715-2. Don't ask me why I didn't change the name, but I didn't. Anyway, let's make this your amazing turning point. And I hope to see you either there or perhaps in a future program. So what we'll be creating will become the self-paced program that will go forward as Emerald. We'll also be using it throughout our other programs as well. So thank you for your time today. I hope you are keeping well. And I also hope that you are feeling like you are really alive, because life's too short to miss that. It really is, hey? Catch you next time.